Okay, hi everyone. Today I'll be talking about rune optimization. So these are briefly the content that I'll be going through today, right? So the first thing that I would like to talk about is the grindable rule, which I believe is the most important rule for anyone to understand in this game. So what are grindables? Grindables are simply substats that you can grind. So these are speed, HP percent, attack percent, and defense percent. And the grindable rule itself is simply to have as many grindables in your runes as possible. So right now I'll just be going through the individual slots. So for slot one, this is very important because slot one can't have defense percent. So given that you only can have three grindables in your slot one, with it being speed, attack percent, and HP percent, it's pretty important for you to have all three in your runes for in your slot ones. Okay, next slot two. So in the event of having a slot two speed, uh, it's it's good for you to have all three grindables as well, defense, HP, and attack. And one of the best way to be efficient is to have rows in your ungrindable stats, right? So for example, this rune is being used on my Okeanos for RTA because I need it to be fast, but I also have high accuracy on it. So that's how I get my accuracy while also maintaining my efficiency. And this rune is pretty good as well because I this having the three grindable stats help me be efficient. Plus, I'll have the crit rate to go along with it. Yeah. So these are some other examples. Okay, slot three. Slot three is similar to slot one in the sense that it cannot have attack percent. So again, it's pretty important for you to have all three grindables on your slot three, right? I think I only have one rune that doesn't follow this rule, and but that's because it's a quad row crit rate slot three violent. So in that sense, it doesn't have defense percent, but it's a quad row, so I still have to use it. Right. So moving on to slot four. So when we are looking at slot four crit damage, it's actually possible for us to have all four grindables like this. But I do understand that it's quite unrealistic to have four grindables on your crit damage slot four, but it's just something good to aim for. Like for example, if you already have three, you can notice that I actually jammed in HP percent and jammed in HP percent here. Yeah. As for slot four HP percent, yeah, you just need the remaining three grindables, which are defense, attack, and speed. Okay, so moving on to slot five. Now for slot five, this is the rule whereby people get their efficiency from, meaning that for an ideal slot five, you would want to have all four grindables, right? So something like this, all four grindable stats. But it is difficult to achieve. So it's something to aim for, but if you only have three, it's fine as well. It's just that four is optimal. Okay, so now moving on to slot six, right? So slot six is similar to slot four in the sense HP percent slot six means you have space for the three remaining grindables, with the last stat being something that you could want like be accuracy or crit rate, right? So this is what I use for Oki, right? Having accuracy, this is what I use for Kakano because it has crit rate, right? So there are definitely some exceptions to the grindable rule. In general, you rune things for efficiency, but some exemptions are pure tanks, right? Units like Lulu and Fedora, they don't really need attack percent. So instead of having attack percent on your runes, you could, for example, be having flat HP or resistance instead. Next, cleave units like Julie and Lucian, they don't really need HP percent and defense percent. You are mainly focusing on crit rate, crit damage. And Bulldozer, we know Bulldozer scales off defense, not attack at all. So instead of having attack percent, you will be jamming in crit rate, flat defense, or crit damage. And lastly, Leo, or you can make an argument for Antares as well. They don't need speed, so you can jam in accuracy or crit rate instead. Okay, so now that I've covered the grindable rule, now I'll be going through efficiency, which is the ability to identify how good a rune actually is. So measuring efficiency comes in three steps. the first step is to ensure that it actually satisfies the grindable rule, right? So once it has satisfied that rule, we move on to the next step, which is to identify which rune tier it falls under. And if it falls under the highest tier, the last thing we will do is just to measure how many percentage it is of max efficiency. So now let me just go through some of the rune tiers. So the highest rune tier is what we call a max orange. So a max orange is simply a rune that has whereby you can count 4 max rows. Next, we'll be talking about a max purple, which is a rune whereby you can count 3 max rows. Third is a mid purple, like 3 mid rows, and last is a max blue, which is 2 max rows. So do note that a max blue is the bare minimum you will expect from your runes. Like you cannot go anything lower than a max blue. Optimally, everything should be about max purple, but that's just something to aim for if you're not there already. So I talk about max and mid rows. So do note that you should be quite familiar with the rows. When you look at the rune, you should be able to identify, like, is it a max row? Is it a min row or a mid row? Like a mid row for speed will be 5, right? So I assume everyone should be quite familiar with this, but I'll just put in this for reference. So now let us just take a few examples of the different rune tiers. So the first one is a max orange. What is this, a max orange? You can see that 16 accuracy is 1 max row into accuracy, 8 plus 8. And 23 speed is basically 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5. So this rune is pretty much just 1 speed away from being 100% efficiency. Okay, so next we'll be moving on, max purple. Right, so for this, you can see that we have 17 speed, which is 665, 15 defense, which is like 8-7. So this is basically 1 max row to defense, 2 max row into speed. So a max purple is generally what you will be aiming for when you are runing your units. Okay, next we'll move on to a mid purple. So this rune is currently being used on my Kakanu to get the crit rate I want. But it's one of, I would say this is the weakest rune that I have because it's a mid purple. So why it's a mid purple is because, like we can see here, 20% crit rate. So 20% is 3 mid rows, 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. 3 mid rows, 5 speed, that's mid, 6 HP, that's mid as well. So I use this rune for my crit rate, but I will be trying my best to find a replacement for this because it's not as efficient as I would want it to be. Okay, so lastly, we'll be talking about max blue. So when we talk about max blues, typically they are just our blue runes that wrote 17 or 18 speed, right? Because there's no other reason for us to keep any other blue runes. So satisfying the grindable rule, defense percent, HP percent, and speed. Generally, I don't roll blue runes anymore, but these runes are mostly what I have in the past, and I still use it, but yeah, these HP gems are hard to come by, so I no longer roll these type of runes. But this, bear in mind that max blues are the bare minimum that you would want to aim for when ruling your units. Okay, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, now I'll just be talking about resistance / accuracy. Okay, so when it comes to resistance, the percentage chance for you to resist is your resistance minus their accuracy. Okay, so let me just give you an example of that. So let's say your Ciara has 60% accuracy and the enemy Lulu has 100 resist. So the chance for Lulu to resist the bomb is 100 minus 60. Means Lulu has a 40% chance to resist your bomb. So another example, let's say Ciara has 20% accuracy and Lulu has 100 resist. That means Lulu actually has a 80% chance to resist your bomb. So this kind of shows like the power of having 100 resist, because you really punish units that don't build accuracy. So conversely, let's just look at the other point of view. Let's say Ciara has 100 accuracy and Lulu has 0 resistance. So the chance for Lulu to resist is actually 15% because that's the game decided that accuracy is just to fight resistance. But if you have more accuracy than them, that's where innate resistance will kick in, and all units will have an innate chance of 15% to resist. It means resistance will never drop below 15%. This is the bare minimum resistance can go. And it doesn't matter, let's say Lulu has 100 resist as well. Because resistance is the same as accuracy, it's also a 15% chance to resist. So what people have noticed is that if I have 100 accuracy and they have 100 resistance and there is still a 15% chance to resist, so they've decided that instead of having 100 accuracy, I might as well just have 85 accuracy since the chance to resist is already 15% chance to begin with. So this is if you're wondering why people keep saying 85% accuracy is the max. So this is just the reason. 85 accuracy is what you aim for when you're running a high accuracy unit like Clara. So the key takeaway here is just for you to have more accuracy on your units if you want to land debuffs on 100 res units. And conversely, you would want to have your tanks on 100 res to punish units like Kakano and Savannah, who typically have low accuracy, right? So now we'll be moving on to the most important part of the sharing, which is the speed ticks, which definitely requires greater attention to it. Okay, so let us just take a look at this. So when a unit turn ends, everyone would gain attack bar according to their speed. So in this little screenshot here, you can see that Vigor moved first, Kakano moved second, and Triana moved third. So you can see that Vigor already has gained so much bar. Kakano has gained like this much bar, and Triana has gained this much bar. So this just goes to show that whenever a unit's turns end, they all gain attack bar, right? So that's just the premise of speed ticks. So when a unit's attack bar hits 100%, they will take their turn, okay? So theoretically, if Vigor has 1,429 speed, it would actually gain 100% attack bar after a turn ends. And a turn meaning if anyone's turn ends, it will gain 100% attack bar. Right. So we'll not be talking about speed ticks itself. So ticks refer to how many turns it takes to hit 100% attack bar. So what we said earlier, a 1,429 speed Vigor is considered to be at 1 tick because it only takes 1 turn to hit 100% attack bar. Okay, so 1,429 speed is basically the magic number. It's the number that we'll be using to do our calculations later. Right. So obviously that was just theoretically speaking. A 1 tick is impossible to achieve. So now we'll be looking at the more realistic ticks. Right. So before we move on, this is just a quick demonstration of the relationship between the ticks and the attack bar. So for example, when I say a unit is at 5 tick, it means that they are actually gaining about 20% attack bar every time a turn ends. Making sense, it makes sense because if I gain 20% every time a turn ends, in 5 turns I will have 100%. So therefore I'm at a 5 tick. Same for the 10 tick. If I gain 10% attack bar when every turn ends, in 10 turns I will have 100%. The 2 tick 50%. 2 tick is impossible. It's just for demonstration purpose. 4 tick, 4 tick is possible, but it's mostly for your very fast units on Swift. Meaning that when a turn ends, you gain 25% bar. So you will hit 100% attack bar in 4 turns. Yeah. So let us now talk about how the speed breakpoints are calculated. So everyone should be quite familiar with this little graph. This is basically the total speed required to hit the ticks that you want. So the ticks that we are most concerned with is mostly the 5. Honestly, the 5, 6, and 7 ticks are the most relevant. So these are the total speeds you want to hit when you want to hit these speed breakpoints. So how it is calculated is that we know that 1429 is the magic number, right? So if you gain 100% attack bar with 1429 speed, to hit the 4 tick, you just need to divide by 4, and you will get the speed, the minimum speed required to hit the 4 tick, right? Same for the 5 tick, divide by 5, and this is the speed required to gain 20% attack bar. 6 tick, same concept. Pretty much you just take the magic number and divide by the amount of ticks you want to have, right? So I guess this is more for understanding, because you can simply just use this tool in SWGT. This slide is more for like your information, I guess. If you are wondering how did they come out with these magic numbers, this is how. Right. So this slide is pretty important. These are the common speed ticks with 24% speed lead. With 24% speed lead. So Kaki 126, Vigor 126, Triana 128, or 81 speed. This is for when you are building a super tank Triana like triple HP, right? 81 speed is for you to be at the 60. Right, Kakano, this is like the most popular, plus 130, right? I believe that I have 3 Kakanos and I have 2 on plus 131 and 1 on 130 flat. Savannah 133 and Sierra is 147, but we recently did some calculations and we found that the most optimal way to build Sierra is to build her with 100% crit rate. That way you can sacrifice speed on her. You can just make her 123 speed, and she will actually be moving as fast as a plus 147 speed Sierra. But the calculation itself on how I arrive on this number is a little bit complex. So I'll not be going through it today, but you can just take what I say at face value, and ultimately you will want to opt for this route because you can afford to make it like 24 speed slower and 100 crit rate, it isn't that hard to do with like a slot 4 crit rate, for example. So if you are wondering like, oh, how did I come up with this number? How did I get 126? So this is just a brief calculation of how I do it. So Kaki has a base speed of 115. Okay, so 115 times 100 plus 24. 24 is the speed lead. 15 is the speed tower, right? So 100 times 115 times 100 plus 24 plus 15% plus 126. So 126 is the speed that you get from runes. And you'll see it equals to 286, which is equals to the speed break point of 286. Yep. So this is just how you can calculate if you want to. You definitely don't have to do it manually. There is a function on SWGT for you to for the computer to calculate for you. Right. Okay, so now we'll be going through the most common misconception when it comes to speed. So previously, the understanding people have with speed has always been, okay, if I'm faster, means I'll take more turns, correct? When you look at a plus 170 speed Vigor and you look at a 130 speed Vigor, like the misconception is that, oh, it's 170 speed, it has to be fucking fast, correct? But that's not actually the case. When you actually plot in the numbers into the speed tick calculator, you'll notice that a 170 speed Vigor and a 130 speed Vigor, they actually both fall under the 5 tick. Meaning that, yes, there might be a 40 speed difference, but both of them, they still take 5 turns to get 100% attack bar. Meaning that if this 170 speed Vigor were to 1v1 a 130 speed Vigor, they would actually be moving at the same speed. None of them would be lapping one of each. They would not be lapping one another, yeah, because they fall under the same thing. The only difference is that if you have a 170 speed vigor against a 130 speed vigor, the only difference is that you get to make an impact turn one. Okay. So when you are running high speed units that are like above the minimum threshold, just know that it would be moving the same amount of turns as a 130 speed vigor. But when you have a 170 speed vigor, what is available to you now is that you can actually make like a difference in turn one. So an example would be, let's say you're running a Kakano Vigor Triana. A 170 speed vigor actually allows you to cut certain cleaves, right? Like when people try to Theon Lucian you, a vigor can actually cut in between and apply anti-crit buff. But other than that, a 170 speed vigor and a 130 speed vigor, they move at the same pace. So there's an important takeaway to know from this, which is having units run higher than the minimum speed. It does happen, right? But you only do it if you have an intention to make a difference in turn one. Okay, so for example, if we are looking at units that are slower in nature, we would aim to actually hit the speed breakpoints. Because if you can't make a difference in turn one, you might as well be efficient and to hit the minimum speed so as to not waste any stats, right? Just to give an example, if you are using like a 240 speed Lulu versus a 250 speed Lulu, there's no difference. You're not going to move first anyway. So why are you ruining yourself to be that fast? You know? So this is one of the things that I'll be going through today. What I would hope that when you create your offenses, like if you want to be thorough with your offenses, what you need to do is that you need to use the speed tick bracket calculator in your under SWGTs, under tools, speed tick bracket calculator, and actually like place in the units that you want and to manually put in the speed from runes to see what are the minimum speed that you need for your offenses. So the most important one for everyone to memorize is Lulu. Okay, so Lulu only needs plus 125 speed to be under the 60. So anything faster than that is just a waste of speed. So just to give an example, if like your Lulu is plus 150 speed, right, it will still be under the 60. So you're just wasting stats. You know, there's no reason for Lulu to be that fast because a 125 Lulu will be moving the same amount of turns. Okay, so Lulu is the most important one because I know many of us have multiple copies. So plus 125 speed is something that most people will memorize because we use this unit so often. As for the rest, like Melee and Vigor, right? This Vigor, we calculate it a bit differently because we're not using a speed lead. So in this sense, in the essence of this team, that Melee, Vigor, Lulu, which we use to fight CVT, right? The breakpoints are 98 speed for Melee, 106 speed for Vigor, 125 speed for Lulu. Of course, this is just like for efficiency's sake. You don't have to, like if you are using your Vigor for other contents, like, or if you have it on defense, having it on your defense rules is fine. This is just if you want to optimize this offense. Like for example, if you're Rolo and you love this offense, right, you can optimize it this way. One thing to note is that I actually chose the 7 tick for Melee 98 speed because his base speed is so low, it's pretty difficult to get a 6 tick, and I think Melee is designed to be slow anyway. So yeah, I think the 7 tick is perfect for the Melee. So this is just one of the examples of what you can do when you want to optimize your offense. Like when an offense doesn't work out, then it's not because the offense is bad per se, but you know, everything has to be optimized, be it your defense and your offenses. And understanding speed ticks is a very important, like, it's a very important concept for you to grasp. Like, a lot of us have difficulties using Water Twins Chloe But because water twins Chloe is also another turn 2 theme that you use, you also have to use this speed tick calculator to ensure that your water twins are actually on the right tick. Yeah, so that's what I do with my water twins. And I'm planning to be more thorough with my other offenses to make sure that they are all optimized. I would admit that most of my offenses aren't optimized to this point. I only pay this much attention to my defenses because I feel that defenses are something that you can just rune once and be done with it. So I do pay a lot of attention to my defenses, and I'll just showcase it in a second. Right. So putting everything we have learned together, now I'll just be showing my my best rune, Kakano Vigor Triana. So first thing first that we can notice is that talking about efficiency and the grindable rule, you can see that, right, the Kakano, pretty efficient overall. Just look at the stats. Vigor has good HP, right? Despite being on crit damage. Triana is on crit damage as well, but actually has almost 800 attack and almost 20k HP. So this is because I am pretty thorough, right, when ensuring that my runes have the grindables that I need. So this is how it performed last siege against Exile Mercs, right? So 2 wins against Exile Mercs, right, in this short sample size. I think it goes to show that, like, not only did I focus on the, like, having it be efficient and having it be efficient, I also placed a lot of emphasis on the speed ticks, right? I have a slow vigor, right? Kakano that's right by the tick, and a Triana that's right by the tick. The tick is 130, the tick is 128. You see? So I follow these things very carefully. So when you make efforts like this to tune your defenses, plus you also make efforts to ensure that your runes are efficient, that's how you would gain, like, more success moving forward. Right. So with this, I've basically come to the end of my sharing. So I hope that you have learned something today. Yeah. If you guys have any, like, questions, you can just send me a private message and I'll get back to you. Right. So thank you.